What's up, everybody? It's JT Sports and back you guys with another video. This video, I'm here with my Pittsburgh Steelers versus Seattle Seahawks preview and prediction. I'm going to be previewing this matchup and giving my prediction on who will win this game in this Week 2 matchup. Now, before I begin, make sure to like the video and subscribe. I upload NFL videos and college football videos daily. Now, the Seattle Seahawks are coming off of a very hard-fought and closely contested game versus the Cincinnati Bengals, and it was more close than what a lot of people expected it to be, especially me. I didn't think that game would have been that close. I thought the Seattle Seahawks would win, but I didn't think they would win by that close. I thought they would at least win by a touchdown or at least 10 points. So the game was fairly close, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are coming off of a very, very disappointing blowout loss versus the New England Patriots at New England. And I picked the New England Patriots to win that game simply for the fact that we know that Pittsburgh in the last couple of years has struggled. At New England, they're 0-6 in the last 6 meetings versus the New England Patriots at New England. So I expected Pittsburgh to lose that game. But the thing about it is that a lot of Seattle fans, if you're a Seattle Seahawks fan and you're watching this and you think Seattle's just going to go into Pittsburgh and they're going to just get an easy win just because Pittsburgh got blown out by New England, I'm trying to tell you that's not going to be the case. This is still a fairly good football team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I mean, we know that New England is one of the best teams in the NFL, and New England has had the Pittsburgh Steelers number for the last couple of years. Pittsburgh is 1-7 in the last 8 matchups versus the New England Patriots. So Pittsburgh historically has struggled in being the New England Patriots, and specifically on the road at New England. And New England is a very tough place to play for any team. So if you're a Seahawks fan, you just think that you guys are just going to beat Pittsburgh just because they got blown out by the New England Patriots. I mean, that's not the case. This is still a very good football team, and the New England Patriots have just had the Pittsburgh Steelers number over the last couple of seasons. So I still think this is going to be a fairly competitive game, and this game could either end up going both ways. But I mean, when you look at the Seattle Seahawks, so a big reason why that game versus Cincinnati was a lot closer than what people expected it to be was because they were missing a couple of guys on the defensive line. Collier didn't play, and I think Ziggy Ansah didn't play as well. Now, Ziggy Ansah is expected to be playing in this matchup. Pete Carroll said he should be ready to go, and they're going to need him in this game because this is a Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line that's very good blocking, and especially when it comes to pass blocking. Now, last week versus the New England Patriots, although they weren't really able to create a lot of holes versus this New England Patriots defensive line, which was clogging up all the running lanes for James Conner, but this offensive line for Pittsburgh was very good when it came to protecting Big Ben. Big Ben attempted 47 passes. He almost attempted 50 passes, and Pittsburgh only allowed him to get sacked 1 time out of almost 50 dropbacks. So he attempted 47 passes. He only got sacked once. He only got pressured at least like 4 or 5 times out of those 47 attempts. So this Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line is going to give this Seattle Seahawks defensive line a very good test, a bigger test than what they got versus the Cincinnati Bengals last week because their offensive line isn't really that good. But Pittsburgh's offensive line is going to give this Cincinnati Bengals front 7 a lot of problems if Seattle isn't able to get pressure on Ben Roethlisberger and they're not able to do what New England was able to do when it comes to stop the run. So if you're Seattle, when you're looking at that front 7, Ziggy Ansah is going to be a bonus. He's going to have a big game if Seattle wants to win this game because, like I said, Ben Roethlisberger attempted 47 passes versus the New England Patriots last week and only got sacked once. So Pittsburgh's offensive line is very good, and that's something, if you're Seattle, you're definitely going to have to be able to get to Big Ben and force him to turn the ball over. So this Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line is very good. Now, if you're Seattle, you're licking your chops at this Pittsburgh Steelers secondary. This Pittsburgh secondary absolutely is abysmal. And this is coming from a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. The secondary sucks. And I mean, Joe Hayden, we don't even know if he's even going to be able to go. I saw something about somebody say he might be injured or something like that. So I mean, this Pittsburgh Steelers secondary looked god awful against Tom Brady. And this secondary in the past has struggled in games like this when the secondary has to get some key stops and things like that. So if you're the Seattle Seahawks and this offensive line is able to neutralize this pass rushing core with TJ Watt and Cameron Hayward and Tuitt and those guys up front for the Pittsburgh Steelers, if this offensive line for Seattle is able to protect Russell Wilson and limit how many opportunities Pittsburgh has to hit Russell Wilson and get Russell Wilson on the ground and limiting that pass rush, then they're going to have a good chance to win this game, because that pass rush helps out this Pittsburgh Steelers secondary a lot. And if they're not able to get after the quarterback like what we saw against Tom Brady last week, then that secondary ends up getting carved up. That secondary isn't really good. And you got guys like DK Metcalf had a very big game versus Cincinnati last week. Tyler Lockett, you also got Tyler Lockett there, who is pretty solid as well. So if Pittsburgh isn't able to get after Russell Wilson, this Seattle offensive line is able to hold up in pass protection, then it could be a long day for this Pittsburgh Steelers secondary, and Russell Wilson could end up having a pretty big day. So looking at my keys to victory, what each of these teams is doing able to have a chance to win this game. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, they need to get pressure on Russell Wilson. This offensive line still isn't good. And going against a very good pass rushing unit with the Pittsburgh Steelers, they had over 50 sacks last year, was one of the best in the NFL. They weren't able to get after Tom Brady that much because Tom Brady has a very good offensive line, one of the best offensive line coaches in NFL history, and a very good offensive line there. But against the Seattle Seahawks offensive line, which gave up like 4 sacks versus this Cincinnati Bengals defensive line, I'm expecting Pittsburgh to be able to get a lot of pressure on Russell Wilson and force him to run around and try to make plays and extend plays with his legs. But if Pittsburgh's trying to win this game, they had to be able to get pressure on Russell Wilson, because this secondary for Pittsburgh, you don't really know how they're going to hold up in a matchup like this. And I mean, do you really trust this Pittsburgh Steelers secondary after that performance against the New England Patriots? I know it's the New England Patriots, but Jesus, man, it looks like Tom Brady could do no wrong. So Pittsburgh has to get pressure on Russell Wilson if they want to win this game. Also, the secondary has to play well, man. This secondary got carved up by Tom Brady. Tom Brady made him his little play dogs last week, and the secondary has to play a lot better. They were missing their starting safety, Sean Davis, last week. He was out, so hopefully he might be able to play in this game. So this Pittsburgh Steelers secondary has to play better in this matchup versus the Seattle Seahawks team that's going to be looking to take a lot of shots deep and having a lot of big pass plays, specifically with guys like Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, who can score at any point of the game. So this Pittsburgh Steelers secondary has to be able to hold up. And the last thing Pittsburgh needs to be able to do, they have to be able to give James Conner the ball. That's something that Pittsburgh got away from in that New England Patriots game because they were down so early in that game. They only rushed the ball 10 times with James Conner, and that's something, if you're Pittsburgh, you're going to have to give James Conner a lot more opportunities rushing the football behind that very stout offensive line that the Pittsburgh Steelers have. So James Conner is going to have to get a lot of carries if they want to be able to win this game. Definitely more than 10 carries. I at least think he should get at least 17 or 19 carries, and that's the recipe for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And even not just giving him the ball, handing him the ball off, let him get more work in the passing game as well, because Pittsburgh's wide receiving core is a little bit of a concern. Although the New England Patriots have the best secondary in the NFL, and the Seattle Seahawks secondary is not as good as the New England Patriots, but at the end of the day, you still want to find ways to get James Conner the ball. He needs a lot more touches than what he got last week versus the Patriots. You want to get your best playmakers on the offensive side of the ball in their hands. And what Seattle needs to do and able to have a chance to win this game, they need to protect Russell Wilson. Like I say, he got sacked 4 times versus the Cincinnati Bengals, and against this defensive line versus against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is way better than is very good and just as good as Cincinnati Bengals offensive line, actually defensive line, actually better. They're going to have to really be on their A game, because this Pittsburgh Steelers defensive line with TJ Watt, Stephon Tuitt, and Cameron Hayward, they can cause a lot of problems for this Cincinnati Bengals unit up front when it comes to protecting Russell Wilson. So if you're the Seattle Seahawks, you allow Cincinnati to get 4 sacks, but Pittsburgh's pass rushing unit is a way more bigger challenge than the Cincinnati Bengals. And their defensive line is pretty good, but Pittsburgh's defensive line, they were top 5 in the NFL in sacks last year, or top 10 at least. So if you're Seattle, you're going to have to be on your A game when it comes to protecting Russell Wilson, because Stephon Tuitt, Cam Hayward, and TJ Watt are all guys who can disrupt this game and completely take it over. So next up for the Seattle Seahawks, they have to be able to stop the run. You want to get Big Ben passing the ball, specifically when you have doubts about this wide receiver position. I mean, Dante Moncrief was dropping passes left and right. It looks like he basically had bricks for hands and things like that. So if you're the Seattle Seahawks, you want to stop the run and get Big Ben throwing the ball over 40 times and allow him to win the game. Although Big Ben is capable of winning the game, but you don't have guys like Antonio Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster. We're not really going to know if he's going to be on 100%. He will play in this game. I'm expecting him to play in this game, but we don't know if he's going to be on 100%. And you also got guys like Dante Moncrief and James Washington who weren't really that impressive versus the New England Patriots. So first Big Ben to pass these young receivers and force him to go other ways instead of Juju Smith-Schuster, because if you're Seattle, that's kind of an advantage. If you take away the run, you force Big Ben to pass the ball. And Big Ben is also a very aggressive quarterback, so you're going to have the opportunities to have turnovers and things like that. So the team that I'm going with to win this game, I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this game. I think Pittsburgh wins this game in a pretty high-scoring matchup. I think Pittsburgh wins this game 27-21. And the reason why I think Pittsburgh is going to win this game is because all of those Seattle Seahawks fans might be like, Pittsburgh just got blown out by New England. The Seattle Seahawks are not New England. Seattle's offensive line isn't as good as the New England Patriots. The New England has the best offensive line coach in the NFL, maybe in NFL history. And also against the Cincinnati Bengals, they gave up 4 sacks. And now you're looking at a front 7 that is better than the Cincinnati Bengals. And I mean, you got Stephon Tuitt, Cam Hayward, and TJ Watt. TJ Watt is starting to become one of the best players that we have in the NFL on the defensive side of the ball. And I just don't think Seattle's offensive line is going to be able to hold up and give Russell Wilson enough time to throw the football. And although the secondary is a concern, if the secondary is able to hold up and the pass rush is getting there, then the secondary is going to look a lot better, because they're not going to have to cover the wide receivers for that long if the pass rush is getting there. And also, I just think Pittsburgh up front and how good they are with these they got like 2-3 all-pro offensive linemen, 4 Pro Bowlers on the offensive line. So, I mean, you have a very good offensive line. I know Seattle's going to get a couple of guys on that defensive line that's going to be returning. Ziggy Ansah is very inconsistent, and although Ziggy Ansah is very inconsistent, he could have a couple of plays in this game, but I think Pittsburgh's offensive line, they only gave up 1 sack to New England, so I think Pittsburgh's offensive line is pretty much going to be able to have a very solid day versus the Seattle Seahawks defensive line. So I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this game. So let me know who you guys think is winning this game down in the comment section down below. Also, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content, and thanks for watching.